The Support Site Foundation presents this educational video for people and caregivers living with macular degeneration, or MACD, and struggle daily with low vision. The Support Site Foundation is here to help empower your voice to save sight. It is our main goal to be your resource for information and education about MACD. Our mission is to save sight for millions of people who suffer from age-related macular degeneration and lose their precious vision. As a 501c3 public charity, our goal is to provide patient education and access to low vision resources to help individuals, families, and caregivers whose lives are severely impacted. We place a high priority on connecting with people, their families, and loved ones who live with the daily struggle of impaired vision. TSSF funds innovative vision research projects conducted by top scientists in the field who are on a path to discover effective new tools, technology, and treatment for people with low vision. Who motivates you?
Hello, this is Shawn Doyle, professional speaker, author, and trainer. And as I travel around the country, people often ask me this question: who motivates you? And the answer is always the same: my amazing wife, Rachel Doyle. Now, why am I bringing up Rachel Doyle in today's program? Well, the reason I'm bringing her up is very important and very central to today's topic. About 4 months ago, Rachel suddenly, having 20/20 perfect vision, suddenly lost her sight. Now, Rachel's a tremendously motivated person, so she immediately sought out resources. And so we found Dawn Prawl and her amazing team at Sage Vision, because Rachel said, well, if I have lost my vision as the chief operating officer of your company, I also want to personally maintain a dynamic life. And so she's able to find amazing tools to operate her computer, to read documents, to listen to her phone, all sorts of things like that. Because when you take the sight away, you really need tools to be successful. Now, as we started talking to Dawn Prawl and her amazing team, she told us about the Support Site Foundation. And we immediately fell in love with the idea. And we said, we have to get involved, because there's people all over the world who struggle with loss of vision, with macular degeneration, with blindness. And so we really felt passionate about getting involved with this association, it's what brings me here today.
6 tips on how to get and stay motivated during adversity.
Hello, this is Shawn Doyle, professional speaker, author, trainer, book author, consultant, and really welcome to the program. I'm really delighted to be here with you today with the Support Site Foundation. Now, I want to talk today about a very important topic. I want to talk about how to get and stay motivated during adversity. Now, please understand, I'm not discounting the fact that macular degeneration is really tough to live with. I'm not discounting that losing your vision is an easy thing. I know every single day is a challenge. But what I want to talk about today, as a motivational speaker and a book author, is how do you get and stay motivated during tremendous adversity? So I really want to talk about 6 key points today. The first one is called the joy list. Now, what is a joy list? Well, the joy list is something that I discovered based on my tragedy and adversity about 9 years ago. Unfortunately, about 9 years ago, I suddenly lost my first wife. She suddenly and tragically died. And so I found myself at the age of 54 facing the idea of being a widower at the age of 54. So I'm like, whoa, what do I do now? So through my healing journey, I started studying this and started looking at it and reading and examining. And in my healing journey, I discovered something that I developed called the joy list. Now, what is the joy list? The joy list is simply a list that you make of things that bring you joy. So you literally write down a list of all the things that bring you joy. Now, why did I develop a joy list? Well, I thought, well, if I am grieving and I'm hurting from loss, what's the opposite of grief and hurt and loss? The opposite of that is joy. So I came up with this joy list. And so the idea is to write down the things that bring you joy, because if you're doing something that brings you joy, at least in that moment, maybe for a minute, maybe for an hour, maybe for 2 hours, I can experience joy and then go back later on to the grief or the hurt or the adversity. So what I really want to encourage you to do is to sit down with a loved one and write out a joy list. And you can record it. You can have your loved one write it out. But if you really do that, then what you try to do is every day you try to work joy into your daily life. And whatever it is that makes you passionate, whatever it is that brings you joy, pick something from that joy list and do that every single day. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's listening to music. Maybe it's calling a great friend. Maybe it's whatever it is, right? But every single day, do something from your joy list. So that's item number one, is create a joy list and refer to it on a consistent basis. Item number two, a gratitude list. Now, what is a gratitude list? Well, I think that often in life, when we have a loss, we lose our vision, or we lose a loved one, or we have a physical challenge, right? It's very easy, and I'm not discounting it, but it's very easy to say, well, I'm so upset about the loss, I forget about the things that I should be grateful for. So another exercise you can do, number two, is to really sit down and make out a gratitude list and say, what are all the things I'm grateful for? I'm grateful for my husband or my wife. I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my home. I'm grateful that I have food and love and friendship. And I'm grateful for lots of things in my life. And so when we have a loss, and I know it's tough, don't get me wrong, but when we have a loss, what's wonderful is to sit down and say, well, I know I have loss, but are there things I still have? Are there still things I still know that I can be grateful for? So really try to sit down and make out a list of all the things that you're grateful for. And, some people call this counting your blessings. Some people call this the gratitude list, right? Things you're grateful for. But I think often we take a lot of things that we have for granted. And so if we make that gratitude list, it will really make a big difference in our life, because you'll feel better. You'll say, okay, well, yeah, I lost this, but I still have that. I lost this, but I have all these wonderful friends and family. Item number three is called, what can I do? Now, several years ago, my daughter's 35 years old, but several years ago, when she was about 10 years old, she developed something called Van Willebrand syndrome. And von Willebrand syndrome is basically a blood disorder, kind of like hemophilia, but not as serious as hemophilia. So, of course, we went to a series of doctors and we found out that she had this blood disorder. And one day I was taking her to DuPont's Children's Hospital to meet with a blood doctor, right? And on the way there, she was feeling very sorry for herself. I can't skateboard. I can't play volleyball. I can't do this. I can't do that, because the concern was that if she participated in contact sports and somebody hit her in the head, she could bleed out and die from internal bleeding. So she was commiserating the idea that there was a lot of things that she could not do. And I said, well, here's what I'd like you to do. You're going to be going to DuPont Children's Hospital. When we're there, I'd just like you to observe. And of course, we went into DuPont Children's Hospital and we saw children that had cancer. We saw children that had no legs. We saw children that were obviously suffering from any range of disease and disability. And so we got out in the car driving home, and she was very quiet. And I said, are you okay? And she said, Dad, I'll never complain again. So I know that having macular degeneration is tough. I know that the loss of sight is a very tough thing to deal with. But maybe a mind shift that can be extremely helpful is to say, well, I know that I've lost my sight, and here's what I can't do, but maybe focus instead on what can I do, right? So maybe if I can't read, I could listen to a book. Maybe if I can't do this, I could do that. So really make a list of all the things that you can do instead of focusing on all the things that you can't do. So I think that's really important because I know that life happens and we have things that are taken from us that are very precious. But instead of focusing on what we can't do, let's focus on what we can do. I think that's really super important. So that's number 3 is focusing on what you can do. Number 4, support system. I think during adversity, it's essential to have a great support system. Now, when I lost my first wife, obviously it was a great tragedy. And I was able to surround myself with an amazing support system of friends and family and loved ones. And people came out of the woodwork to help me. So I think when you face adversity, you need to sit down and say, well, what is the support that I need? Maybe it's family members that you need support from. Maybe it's friends that you need support from. Maybe it's tools that you need support from. Maybe it's government agencies that you need support from. Maybe it's associations like the Support Site Foundation that can help you. So really take a look at what are all the support systems you can put into place. Now, here's my advice. Be very careful about your support system and who you pick. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, in one of my books, I wrote about 2 different kinds of people. One kind of person is called an ESV. Now, what does that mean? It's an energy sucking vampire. There's a lot of negative people in the world. You know that. And unfortunately, the negative people in the world are toxic. They're energy vampires. They will take your energy from you. And I don't want that to happen. So when you choose your support system, you don't want to choose ESVs, energy sucking vampires. What you want to pick is EBCs. EBCs, what does that stand for? Energy building champions. All of my friends are energy building champions because I chose them and they chose me. And why did they choose me? Because I'm an energy building champion. What's an energy building champion? A person who says, come on, it's going to be okay. You can do this, right? We're going to find a way. We're going to find a way through this adversity to the other side. Life will be good again. Let me show you how. So it's so amazing when you surround yourself by energy building champions because that support system pulls you up instead of pulling you down. So make sure you surround yourself with those energy building champions. And they might be people in person, friends, family, associations, might be people virtually that you could listen to in a podcast or an audio. It might be a motivational book that you could listen to inspire you, might be your faith, but find all of the ways you can develop a support system to support you in this journey of vision loss. So that's point number 4. Point number 5 is having tools. I mean, it's just amazing to me now that because of technology, people with vision loss can now read by using things like a Sarah CE. You know, when we first started talking to Don Prawl and our team at Sage Vision, we were astounded by the technology. So, you know, Rachel can take a document and put it on a machine and the document will be read to her by the machine. So there's so many great tools out there now that are available through technology that previously didn't exist. So find out for you what the tools are by either talking to the folks at the Support Site Foundation, by talking to the folks at Sage Vision, right? But find out what the tools are available to you. And there's a lot of great tools out there, right? get with a loved one and go to websites and research what tools are available to you. Talk to people that say, hey, have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? Did you know that you can listen to this, or you can do this? Or there's an association that will send you audios of books that are free. So tap into those tools, because if you tap into those tools, it will really make a big difference, because it can really change the quality of your life. Okay, maybe I can't sit down and read a book, but I could listen to a book, or I could get a tool that would read the book to me, right? So it's just amazing the world that we live in now. We have incredible tools available right at our fingertips, and many of them very reasonable or free from certain associations and different support organizations like that. So really can make a huge difference for you. The last point that I want to bring up, and again, I know that this is a challenge for you. I know that this is a challenge because we're living it every day. But here's the thing. I've always said this, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. In other words, we see lots of people with lots of adversity who give up, who curl up in a ball, and they don't want to have a dynamic life. But we see other people who rise to the occasion, who say, I still want to have a dynamic, productive social life, work life, etc. So just by making the choice, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. It's really amazing. When I first lost my wife, and as I went through my healing journey, I remember sitting on a couch in my living room and saying to myself, I know right now I'm in grief. I know right now that I'm sad, but I also know that in the future I'll be happy again. So it's making that choice of not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you. And that's really an interesting choice, because we see people all the time. They go through a lot of adversity, but rather than folding, they rise up to the occasion and they say, well, what choice do I have? I could give up, or I could just move forward, and I know that life will be good again. I may have to make some adjustments. I may have to change the way that I do what I do. But when you do that, it really is amazing. And the other thing is, you can inspire other people with your story. You can inspire other people with how you live your life, and reach down and pull them up with you. And what a special privilege that is. So my name is Shawn Doyle. I really appreciate you spending time with me today. But know this, if you apply these ideas of the joy list, a gratitude list, thinking about what you can do instead of what you can't do, developing a strong support system of family and friends and associations and organizations, and surrounding yourself with tools, with technology, and deciding that you can make the choice, your life can transform. So I really wish you well in your journey, and thanks for spending time with me today.
Content contributed by Shawn Doyle, CSP, Certified Speaking Professional, Energy Building Champion, and Extraordinary Human Being. When sight disappears, so does a person's connection to the world. TSSF is all about helping people who can't see. Every single day, they live with this blinding disease, and it changes their lives forever. We hear over and over again that support and help from TSSF is transformational. Why? Because AMD is all we do. That's why we believe in education for patients and caregivers on how to live more independently with MACD, advocacy to amplify the need for national attention given to this disease, and research to discover new treatments and a cure. To make a gift, go to supportsite.org/give or call us at 888-681-8773. Please remember the Support Site Foundation in your will. Help us save sight for millions of people. We rely on the generosity of donors just like you. Thank you. This educational segment is made possible by Novartis Pharmaceuticals, Vispero, the world's leading assistive technology provider for the visually impaired, Healthy Vision Association, Centric Bank, and other generous partners and friends like you. Thank you. Please reach out to us. We are here to help. A loved one or anyone you know suffering from MACD or low vision. Please do not hesitate to reach out for more information or as a friend to talk to. We are here for you. If you have any questions, please contact us at supportsite.org. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. Call 888-681-8773, or again, visit supportsite.org for more information. Have a great day.